Greetings and salutations, everyone. It's me, Darkheaders1 here, bringing you another volume of Railway Series. Wait a minute. This isn't Railway Series Customs. These are all American, aren't they? Well, if you watched my last video, this isn't a shocker. I am a terrible liar. That big lug that I showed last time did have something to do with what happened today. This is the start of a side series that will happen basically every 2 weeks on a Tuesday, running alongside Railway Series Customs, where I show off some of the American stuff I do. And this also is a very special video because this shows the locomotive which started it all, sort of. What started all of this Railway Series Customs Volume 2 with all the smaller engines now. But I'll get into that in a second. But who is this engine supposed to be? Well, with most of my stuff, I give them names. Most of them are given already, but with the American stuff, they're given names by me. And I gave this guy the name Drey. Yes, I'm saying this guy, because they're both the exact same person. Well, engine. This one over here, which obviously looks a bit older, was the very first model I made since I scrapped the original line from Railway Series Customs. All those big ones you saw in the beginning, they're gone. Sorry, but they were taking up space, and I needed to find a way to shrink them. And Drey here provided the ticket because I built him on the side as the big ones were being built, and I was like, I like this one. This one brings more space. So here's how it goes. I was watching a live stream of someone driving a new train simulator Hudson. I thought, maybe I could build that. But then I thought, wait, what if I built it, but smaller enough to where it'll fit? And eventually, this guy was made all in the span of a week, I believe. I do not remember if that is correct or not, because it's been like a few years since I started. But as you can see, he definitely shows how far I've come when compared to the update. I gave him the number 1 because it signifies that he is the first model made in the micro scale compared to the original series. That isn't his original tender, by the way, either. This is my first attempt at a PT tender from all those years ago. Still a bit small, but it works. And in terms of the gray, it's a very pinkish gray, but it suits. He is probably the oldest thing currently that I've made, and he's probably going to be... This is basically preservation for him. Because I don't plan to do anything major to him after at all. That's kind of why I built him a second. I built the Mark II, you know. So, that out of the way, let's pull or push him to the back. And let's take the Mark II and show him off. Now, Drey Mark II was actually given a number. He is given the number 5440. Now, if you actually look at J3A Hudson 5440 in service, it didn't actually carry streamlining during its service in the New York Central. But, since this is my character and it's in a universe of my own creation, it's got a pretty decent story to it. Basically, he would have been built, when the rest of them were. He would have been part of the later batch just before the streamliners would come along. Basically, he'd get into an accident, which would give him the idea of getting glasses like this. Basically, he'd hit a sign, and that would basically stick to him mentally and give him his persona of just this chill dude. That's basically his old shtick. It's a funny shtick, but it works. He would be given this streamlining after being on the New York, Washington, and Miami Railroad, which is what's on the tender technically. He would have been on the railroad for like 2 years before getting this Dreyfus streamlining. It was probably late in his career after the war, because during the war I think some of them streamlining wouldn't have been a priority when he was brought in. But he now hauls basically the railroad's own 20th Century Limited. Except it's called the Centennial Limited. Basically running along the same route as the original 20th Century, but this time, the island that this railroad is based off of, the Rannar Island, another thing that'll be explained at some point. Basically, it runs from Rannar to Chicago, in 18 hours nonstop. Of course, this is just one of the schedules for 1 week. I basically have to do the mental math in my head, but it should be roughly 18 hours if we're adding that extra mileage between the island to New York and then New York to Chicago. And you can definitely see how much more modern he is. For one thing, he does not have the boxier bell pair attempt over there as the old Drey shows, but he now has a more accurate firebox. His drivers now actually have the now featured details that will be seen on the real Skeleton just drivers, like the little notches. His wheels now have black on his leading wheels and his trailing wheels. And his cab is definitely picked up in detail, because now instead of being all pitch black, it's more, visible. And his livery is a bit more experimental too, because now instead of stopping short on the tender only, his livery carries on forward up to here on the edge of his streamlining. And you can definitely see the changes too, still in streamlining from how this is. Because before this would have been made, piece by piece. Now it's just all one solid chunk attached at a late stage. And as I said, there's the glasses for his persona. His pilot has definitely been upgraded. And of course the PT tender attempt got better, as now it looks a lot more like one. It's taller, it's sleeker, and it suits my needs. And it's also black inside from all the coal. Very dirty. But yeah, this is a little dive into something I've somewhat shown once or twice. But I plan to do this somewhat on a regular basis. Somewhat. As I said, 2-week gap between each episode, just so I can have enough time for Railway Series Customs, not burn myself out with work and all that mess. But I genuinely hope you guys like taking a look at something other than just Railway Series. And if you don't, I don't blame ya. If you come for one thing, you should be fine to stay with one thing. But with that being said, this has been Dark1, and we shall see you next time.